in your life. Yeah, 2 times. That's how good it is. JD?
Well, Ger and Shane, the head is so big in that visual that it looks like I had what Scotty Scheffler served up last night, which was a cheeseburger sliders, firecracker shrimp, tortilla soup, Texas ribeye steak or blackened redfish with a warm chocolate chip skillet cookie and milk and cookies ice cream.
I'll have a little bit of it all, actually. I would be happy with that. I noticed Phil Mickelson was like, I can't be having any of the cookie because he's the new Slim Phil.
I saw the interview he did and I was just, wow, I was taken aback now. He looked gaunt. He didn't have that kind of tan, that rich tan that he would have had.
Yeah, that rich people have.
He was also wearing, obviously, the live stuff. He looked like a guy at a science fiction convention. And it was just a strange interaction.
I've been to those conventions. What are you saying, John?
Golfers do Comic-Con.
Well, 41st out of 48 in Orlando last week. And I just don't feel the love is there for him as much as it was. And I feel that's affecting
him. Before we get on to the golfers, you've won the Masters, right? And then the next year, the moment of pressure comes. What's on your menu?
Tortilla soup you said he had.
Is this for us, for me?
For you, yeah. What would you do?
I would would have to be very Irish themed. So the drinks, first of all, you'd have to have a keg of Guinness there. You'd have to have maybe Tipperary or Ballygan water. You'd have to have some kind of good Irish whiskey. So you got to get your drinks, so, that's all the drinks sorted on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, then you'd have to have something like caramelised scallops, something like Irish fish kind of starter, or prawns or something like that, or salmon or something like that. Then for main, you'd have to be something like Irish beef, maybe peppercorn, cream, brandy sauce, maybe roast potatoes, something like that, maybe some green beans. I'm partial to a chocolate fondant with vanilla ice cream for dessert. I'm sure there's like lots of people who'd want like box tea and all these kind of Irish and bacon
cabbage. I thought you were going to say
coddle. Batter sausages or tato or something like that. I don't know, but I think I'd be going for something quite traditional and Irish. Yourselves?
Just a big carvery.
Tato sandwiches as dessert is a good idea, yeah.
Or a big glass of milk with your carvery.
Ice cream with a wafer.
Sauce. Yeah. And I just think you keep it simple, don't you?
Like, it has to be Irish. If you're from this country, you have to have some kind of Irish theme to it, I think.
I agree. The Guinness is essential. That's not even up for question.
But you'd be fascinated if Rory or Shane did win this week, or Seamus Power. What would they would be serving? Like obviously Seamus Power's from Waterford, so would he be Blas next year?
It's a lovely way of asking the question though, because usually people are asked their death row meal, but it's a less morbid way of thinking about it. Your Masters meal is a bit nicer,
Yeah, it's probably actually
but it's one worth thinking about.
Yeah. Anyway,
I know that we'll get some suggestions in the comments on YouTube.
A slight tangent.
Right.
Okay, you want the winners. So Rory, before we get to kind of talk about the tournament in itself, Rory McIlroy is my headline pick. I think I picked him the last few years, so why would I go against him now? What really encouraged me was I watched the whole press conference yesterday, and I've never seen Rory as relaxed, and he looked on top of himself yesterday. He's gone to the Masters before talking absolute nonsense about juggling and all these books he's been reading. He just looked very, very relaxed. I think he's got 2 people in his corner now that are helping him. Bob Rotella, the mind guru who helped Padraig Harrington win a major, and Brad Faxon, the putting machine. He's happy with his driver now. He has if you look at it, the top 10 and 7 of the last 9 starts at Augusta National, second last year, should have won it possibly in 2011. He's playing well, reached the semis of the World Match Play. I think everything is aligning, won both tours last year, and at 15-2 win only with one bookmaker, you can get an enhanced win only. He's going to take 20 year of my virtual cash. So he's the headline pick for Rory McIlroy this week. The other ones I like, Xander Schauffele from the United States is somebody I like for 25-1 for 80 Tway. He's the Olympic champion, 4 top 15 finishes this year, won 3 times last season, top 7 finishes in 5 of 6 US Open starts. And at the Masters, he was second behind Tiger in 2019, and he was third behind Hideki Matsuyama only a couple of years ago. You've got a strong all-round game, he's got a strong temperament, and you need to be good on your approach shots at Augusta. You need to land the ball in the right spots in the greens, and he's 9th in strokes gained approach this season and 20th in putting. Very strong all-round player, Xander Schauffele. Patrick Cantlay I'll always put up as everybody's going to slag me off about it, but 4th ranked player in the world, 7 each way at 18-1 the Fairy Tale of New York price. So Patrick Cantlay hasn't got the best Masters record, but nearly won it the year Woods won it in 19. He closed at 64, 68, so he can shoot good rounds around the course. Once again, very good at finding the right spots around the course. Second in strokes gained off the tee this season, fifth in greens and regulation, playing very well, 4 top 10 finishes in 8 starts. So from an each way perspective, I think Patrick Cantlay could be right there for his first major. And the outsider then I picked is Justin Rose at 55-1 for 5 each way on Justin. 42 years of age now, former US Open champion, Olympic champion, won at Pebble Beach in bad conditions earlier this year. It's going to be rainy, windy this week at Augusta. Has the patience and the experience, has got a good caddy on his side at the moment. I think Justin Rose has been second twice at the Masters, could finally break through. Sometimes it's not bad to go with a veteran. So in descending order, Justin Rose, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele with the headline pick this week. I'm going to go for the unsexy pick, but I'm going to go for a man. I think it's finally his time, Rory McIlroy, and I actually think the soft conditions this week will really help him, because I think Phil Mickelson said yesterday the course is going to play long and it's going to be really more towards the people who can really drive the ball quite a long way, and I think a softened course is where Rory won the US Open at Congressional. I think he's primed to do it this week.
He's made the equipment changes, Rory, too, hasn't he? Like, he's older style putter, I've heard people saying, the shorter driver shaft, like all those sound like little things, I guess, to non-golf fans, but they are fairly significant.
Well, he changed his driver, and he's at the press conference yesterday said he's very happy now with the way he's hitting the ball. He's just making tweaks. I think that, look, I think the big thing for Rory McIlroy from a challenging perspective will be what's between his ears. But I just do get a sense of more serenity with him than over the last 12 months than I would have had. He faced down Patrick Reed in Dubai. I think that was important.
Yeah.
And won those 2 big events, 2 big tours last year. That's a very rare thing to do, you know.
I think the Patrick Reed thing was very significant given what happened around Augusta when, you know, he just needed to see off Patrick Reed and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, and also getting a subpoena or whatever he was on Christmas Eve from, was it Reed's lawyer? So there was a degree of you have to finish this off. So I do think, that was important. Hasn't had that many starts this year either, Rory. I think he's coming in quite fresh too. Whereas I think with Scheffler and Rahm, Scheffler's had the whole... he's had to be the host yesterday, and he've all this ceremonial stuff to do during the week, and Rahm has gone off the boil after winning 3 times earlier this year.
Would you consider Patrick Reed the number one prospect of the live players? Like, he was 4th in Orlando, as you say, like, ran Rory quite close to the Dubai Desert Classic as well, so coming into a little bit of form, and he loves being the bad guy, the villain as well.
But he gets motivation out of trying to prove everybody wrong. The only thing about Patrick Reed is it's very hard to just judge how these live guys are going to translate to Augusta. I think Dustin Johnson will do well because he doesn't give a toss. Patrick Reed didn't post a top 30 in any of the majors last year. 3 top 10s, you say, 9 Masters starts, second behind Rory, but he slipped to 17th in the world ranking. That's probably because he doesn't get any points anymore. Nobody be fueled more by the chip in the shoulder than Patrick Reed. I just don't know how much rust. But remember, these guys are they're not playing elite courses anymore, and they're also only playing 54 holes. And they're all in these teams that nobody knows any idea of. I was even going on the website yesterday. I was trying to work out what they were doing, and the website is just so basic. The amount of money that's been put into this thing, and there just doesn't seem to be a back end on it. There's nothing kind of back end infrastructure in this whole thing at all. This live thing. I watched Cameron Smith's press conference, and all I saw was one big word that it's almost like he was just the computer. The signals through my computer screen was saying regret.
Really?
Regret.
Really?
Regret.
Wow, okay, why?
I felt it in his body language. Maybe I'm wrong, but did you watch the players? Well, I watched a few holes. Then I was fishing with my mates. It's true to say the fields aren't as strong at live. I've got a couple of changes of clothes in case I'm told not to wear the live gear by the Masters people. My game is not where it could be. I've just got a sense of, is there a buyer's remorse here?
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson doesn't care. He's it's golf, man. Don't care. Nothing's changed. But I think with Phil Mickelson and with Cameron Smith, I got a sense of buyer's regret.
Right. And from Mickelson, does it come across in just like
body language, his demanner,
physical change? He's half the man he used to be.
Yeah, and it's also looking around, just kind of just a sheepishness. I kind of found. Whereas Phil was always about the crowds. Now it might be different. Look, Phil might shoot a good round and
the crowds are back.
Yeah, and he's like doing the clapping. But all this like Greg Norman stuff, this is just really, really kind of vulgar about this kind of Ryder Cup style where all the lads will be around the green to jump. And then they ask Cameron Smith that and he goes, what? Nobody told me about it. So there's a frat boy vulgarity that I don't think Cameron Smith fits into. I don't even think Mickelson fits into it. But it's just like they're wearing these silly logos and nobody knows what the hell they are. And I just feel it's look, they're all going to be on their best behaviour, because in Augusta, if you do anything, as we all know, if you even run at Augusta as a patron, as you have to be called as a fan, you get in trouble.
I did not realise that. You can't run.
You can't run.
I knew the whole phone
Well, you'd be
thing,
told, yeah, cell phones, running. My sister went there last year, and she was only allowed, like, they take your photo in front of the clubhouse, but you obviously can't bring your phone around. It's their world, it's their rules. Even the pairings, none of the live guys are in any of the marquee pairings. So it's just like clever things. I think two of the live guys are going out with Sandy Lyle. It's not going to be. It's going to be taking his time around there.
Yeah.
So it's just funny, like the little kind of childish intrigue to the whole thing.
It's over 20% of the field are live golfers, and Brooks Koepka was saying the other day it would be a huge statement if one of the live golfers were to win. He's probably right, isn't he?
I think a bigger statement is what's happened yesterday with the European Tour winning their case, that independent panel deciding that they can penalise live golfers for, playing in tournaments they're not supposed to, or whatever, being released to. So what it does effectively, it shuts the door on Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, Garcia from the Ryder Cup this year. So that's more of a thing of a door closer on live. I think what live is, it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's what's going to continue to happen. And Smith is the only person who's still kind of relevant to the rankings. Bryson DeChambeau talking about the fact he's not there yesterday. Woods, I watched the press conference. Kind of sad. You don't know how many more of these he's going to have. He's talking about having a lot of hardware in his leg, and that he just has been at home trying to replicate visually all the memories of winning at Augusta, so he can try and get around and walk around. I think is going to be a struggle for him for 72 holes. Just once again admitting he nearly lost his leg, and he's almost like thankful to have a leg. So that was just kind of poignant almost. I
think we're going to hear a lot about the par 5 13th. I think changed that significantly.
Well, as Wood said yesterday, in recent years, the technology and the athleticism has overpowered almost the 13th as a par 5, and it became a par 4.5. So most players be going for the green over the creek in 2. Now it's a decision. Like Rory was talking about having maybe a 5-iron for a second shot in his practice rounds. So there's a degree of risk and reward, which is the whole point of Rays Creek and all of that. So as Wood said, there'll be probably more 4s and 5s than 3s and 7s at the 13th. But it's going to inject a bit more jeopardy into the final round on Sunday, as does 15. So that's going to be fantastic. Look, as Patrick Cantlay said, there's always subtle changes to the course. Every single year they're making little subtle changes to what, and then you have to suss it out. But I think the weather is going to be a huge thing. They do have sub-air systems to dry out the greens, but if you do get soft conditions, it's going to play quite long. And like a player like Rory hits the ball so high, can then maybe like draw the ball into some of these hole locations, land it quite softly, and then have a putt. So look, it's absolutely fascinating. From an Irish perspective, we got 4 in the field. Shane Lowry, when I'm looking at him, well, as he said to Paul Kimmage in the interview the other day, he's only playing maybe 3 rounds out of 4. He's lost his caddy. He's not in the form maybe he was last year when he's tied 3rd. He definitely has the game for it. He's got the wedge game. He's got the feel. He's got the ingenuity. But look, he doesn't win that often. And I'm thinking just 6 wins as a pro, Shane Lowry, which is interesting.
All big ones, though.
All big ones, yeah, to be fair. Seamus Power is also 36, second Masters start. Tied 27th last year, has had a couple of victories on the PGA Tour, one in Bermuda in October. One of the better putters and scramblers, but I do think you need about 5 or 6 or 7 goes generally to be like competitive at the Masters. And Matt McLean is the amateur from Belfast, 29-year-old optometrist. Won the US Mid-Amateur in Wisconsin last year. His goal is to make the Walker Cup team at St Andrews this year. So there's plenty of stories. Like a guy like Sahith Theegala could be somebody to watch out. He's a rookie, but no rookie's won in 44 years now at the Masters. So John Rahm as well, you can't forget. Like he's once again channeled by a lot of drive, and he can be quite temperamental, but he's definitely got the game, and he's a winning machine, and he's won a US Open. So yeah.
There was the lovely video of Shane Lowry yesterday or the day before on his social media of in the car driving his dad down Magnolia Lane. His dad's obviously buzzing.
Brendan,
Brendan. But like, I mean, he'll take confidence from last year at Augusta, you'd imagine, Lowry. Like, there's no reason why he can't do it. As you say, he doesn't win that often, but when he does, it's fairly significant. Max Homa is a name that seems to be cropping up, and
Max Homa's playing very well. 6 top 10s and 10 starts, tied 6 of the players, but he's yet to break 70 at Augusta.
Right.
So that's the only thing about him that might be a little bit of a concern. Yeah, there's so many. Tony Finau, can he put wet enough? Will Zalatoris, does he put wet enough? Victor Hovland, does he chip wet enough? Justin Thomas hasn't been red hot in his form. Sam Burns won the match play, but once again missed cut on his debut last year. Colin Morikawa hasn't won since 2021, a brilliant iron player. Cameron Young hasn't won at all. Jordan Spieth, what kind of Jordan Spieth version are we going to get this week? You know, a lot of storylines. Sung Jae Im is definitely a dangerous player. Matt Fitzpatrick, US Open champion, but a bit out of form. Hideki Matsuyama, wouldn't rule anybody out from backing him because he's back in form. 5th of the players, tied 15th in Texas. Yeah, won a couple of years ago. Jason Day is playing well.
All right. Plenty to get your teeth stuck into.
The podcast is coming out by the next hour or two, so you can listen on the Go Loud Network and enjoy. What's your favourite part of the Masters, Ger?
Is it the smarmy Jim Nance post interview in
Butler Cabin?
Oh, Butler Cabin, the creepiest place in the universe.
I love the way he says we're into the world. We're broadcasting to the world now.
I don't know, the around the turn.
Yeah, Amen Corner. Yeah,
around the turn on Sunday evening is generally pretty good.
The wildlife, the azaleas, the greenery, the sun, just the feeling that I want to be there. The feeling that it's not on planet Earth.
I wonder, is that bird music real?
I'd say those birds died about a century ago, John. Like all the people in the canned laughter. Right.
All right, lads.
That's this week's Enjoy. That's this week's episode of Virtual Insanity, a Master Special.